Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the LFC Transfer Room. My name is Lewis, and today I am joined by Chad and Willem. Apologies for the delay getting on. Getting everything set up for the first time. It was a bit of a nightmare for me. Underestimated how long it takes, so I do apologise for that. But we're still here making sure that you get the content that you guys want. Chad, Willem, everyone good? How are we?
Yeah, all good.
Good.
Good, nice to hear it. And I'm assuming it's even better after the 3-0 win today. I was in work myself. I've only been able to watch certain bits of it. I've seen all the highlights about half the match. So I just want to get you guys, what's your guiding me through this? So Chad, overall thoughts on the match today? Happy? How are we feeling?
Yeah, it was a good weekend. I got the Springboks winning the World Cup, and then recovering from the Babalas to get to Liverpool winning 3-0. So a very good weekend for me. The game was quality. We had the game from the beginning, controlled it very well. Szoboszlai looked like an absolute monster on the field. He was everywhere anyway. I think the commentators thought there was a twin on the field or something like that. So it was actually, it was a very good game.
And Willem, I mean, overall, on your thoughts on it as well, do you think that this is it was business as usual, or do you think this was sort of exceptionally good for us the way we dominated Nottingham Forest today?
It's one of them ones where it's like I do think we were just really good all across the board today, and I was actually going to go as far as for the first 80 minutes. I'd say by far it's probably our most comfortable, like just on a good level performing throughout the whole game. And that was about the first 8 minutes. The last 10 minutes, they kind of had some chances every once in a while, and then kind of went on one more attack to try and get a goal. And that's where we did loosen up a bit. But for the rest, it was it was brilliant today. To be fair, there was no one today either where you're like, oh, maybe that's an issue where we need to look at or anything. Everyone looked solid today. So it was very comfortable.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, I think the starting lineup sort of picked itself. We all sort of expected, like maybe Canate to come in, Simicast to start, etc., etc. But obviously, Diaz being the only exception, thoughts go out to him and his family. Everything works out for the better there. But on that left wing, though, Jota, I mean, he's a big talking point after today's game. I mean, Chad, do you think Jota has sort of rekindled that form that he had from maybe 2 seasons ago? Or do you think this is something, do you think he's playing different, a different style maybe? Just thoughts on Jota in general?
The thing with Jota is Jota's always been a dangerous player. He's always been a goal scorer for a poacher for us. The only thing was he started off the bench, he comes off the bench, he has his 30-minute spell, and then he starts, he runs at teams. The thing with Jota also was, if he starts, does he have that same energy throughout the game? Throughout how many minutes do you give Jota to fire up and get to his point where he is now firing goals and he's making chances, making opportunities? So for me, it was actually a very good game for him today. He played well. He was in the thick of things a lot. The team and the dynamic with the interchange between him and Gravenberch, with him and Nunez and Salah and Szoboszlai, it kind of fits it into his game a lot. He had more opportunities. He could cut in. He could make himself available. And it was a good spell for him. And I think Klopp took him off at about the 60th minute or about, just before 60. So he had a good spell. He had a good time. Had a few minutes on the field. And then we've seen Jota. We've seen Jota throughout the course of this season where he comes on and he puts his influence onto the game immediately. And so there was always just a question of him, if he starts, can he produce the same thing? Can he still do Jota things? And we saw today that he can, and he has a shout for being a starting player for the rest of the season. Obviously with Diaz, and like you said, prayers go out to Diaz and that, and hopefully everything comes out right for him. But Jota he has a shout for playing out on the wing or coming in through the middle. But he had a fantastic game today, I think.
Absolutely. I mean, I feel like Jota sort of at times can go a little bit underappreciated. He's definitely dipped in form in recent seasons, but it looks like he's definitely starting to pick it back up. Willem, I mean, do you see Jota as the sort of the Diaz number 2, or do you think he's a bit better in the middle? Like, how do you think the best way to handle him is going forward?
I think the way that, to be fair, Clough's been handling him already for the last 18 months, which is just make him as solid as possible wherever you have to play him up front, even sometimes playing it I mean, we've seen him play pretty much as a cam role as well, where he does play the three forwards and then he just kind of puts him in a free role behind the striker. And I think as well, I think Jota himself even said like that's also very important to him to be able to add value on the pitch no matter what position he's kind of playing in those front positions, because that's a way for him as well to really stay contributing to the team. And yeah, I think he's been really good as well for how he started the season. I think when you look at it, by the end of the last season, when he kind of got rid of that 1 year goal drought where he just wasn't looking on it for a good while, he obviously did have his long injury and stuff and everything in between it. I think after he kind of broke that, you just saw that it's like he got his confidence back what he was missing in that period. And to be fair, he hasn't really let go of it since. He has been holding on to that form and really producing the good for us since that period. So I'm glad he's been able to pick that up and not slip further down into it after a year of a goal drought, because at the end of the day, not everyone's able to do that as well.
Yeah,
it's hard for him to do, definitely. I mean, do you see him more as a wide player or just through the middle? How do you personally think he should, like, what would you say is his better position? Because he's a very good aerial threat. We know how good Jota is in the air, but at the same time, like today, his inverted balls to the midfield from out wide, they're so effective. He was actually great at running at players, which is something that maybe he doesn't do as much. He did it in the Toulouse game. He did it more today. I mean, what's better suited for him, do you think?
For me now, I've gotten to a point now where I do think left wing is his best position when he plays. Often for me, like throughout the first season roundabout there, it was that like there I was thinking, he's someone to really rotate the centre forward role with Firmino at the time, and I thought that was gonna end up being his position to stay around that, and especially now throughout this last 6 months roundabout. I've seen a lot of better output from him on the wing than actually down the middle. So, I'd say my preferred position for him is the left wing, but I mean, he can play both at the end of the day.
What thoughts on that? Do you agree, or do you think he's more suited to that middle role?
No, I completely agree with what William was saying. You must remember that he was initially bought to play on that left side. You know, he came from Wolves playing from the left side. He has both feet that he can strike off both perfectly and produce goals for us. So, and obviously with Firmino coming in and his injuries and that, he had to shift into the middle and he had to play in that middle position. But I don't think he's suited to play in the middle. He is a natural poacher and he can play in the middle and he can dominate games and produce in the middle. But for me, I have to agree with what William was saying and put him on the wing and allow him to cut into his favorite right foot, allow him to take on players and get into the positions where he can either 45 it to someone that's coming late into the box or take it on and try to curl it to the back post. Jota's like, he is very, like you're saying, he was a very underrated player and not a lot of people see him as that. The attacking prowess that he has, he's a deadly finisher and he can finish chances that we don't think he can finish. Like you think about the Tottenham game, he cuts it across late in the game. He's always awake. He gets onto the ball, cuts it across the keeper, scores. We win the game. Again yesterday. Only person arriving. Nunez takes a shot. No one expects the rebound. He's expecting the rebound. Gets the ball, puts in the back of the net. That's where Jota is. That's Jota. He's a poacher for us. And to allow him to now elevate that game and allow him to cut in from the wing, take on defenders, and use his pace and take the shots that he needs to take, I think that just elevates him even more. The only thing is, does he start over Diaz? Do we change Diaz for Jota? And that's the only blockage for Jota at the moment. That's the only caveat that he has now, is he has to fight against Diaz. And then if we move him to the center, he has Nunez and Gakpo. Nunez offers the natural striker role, then Gakpo offers the Firmino role where he drops deep. And Jota is in between the two of them in a sense, because Jota can either be the attacking striker that you need, or you can drop deep and be the false nine. And to do that, you're not getting the full Jota that you need. And so putting him out the wing, allow him to attack, and allow him to be himself, be the full Jota, the Jota that we bought from Wolves, that we wanted to see, and that we're starting to see actually at the moment. That's just who we want. So for me, keep it on the wing. The only issue is obviously Diaz. He doesn't start with Diaz for me at the moment. Diaz just offers a lot more for us, especially out on the wing, especially in the system. For me. That's the only thing now for Jota. That's the only issue that Jota has is Diaz.
See, I think that's quite interesting because I personally, at the moment, obviously taking out of consideration Jota at the moment with everything going on, Diaz with everything going on, but pre this match, pre today, it seems like Jota was in the better form, and I think it's really interesting that you still think Diaz is the better alternative on that left. Is that purely down to just him fitting the system, or just his abilities? I mean,
for me, it's a system. It's a system. 100% is a system, because the way Klopp is playing it now is Diaz and Salah have to hug touchline. They have to touch. They have to get as wide as possible to allow Gravenberch or Jones and Szoboszlai to actually cut in the middle and allow our middleman Nunez to actually be a striker and be Nunez, because Nunez is not going to play the false nine. He's not going to drop deep. He wants to be on the shoulder of the defender. He wants to run into the spaces. You can't do that if you have both our wingers cutting in. They're going to run into Nunez, and or Nunez is going to run into them. So it cuts out it doesn't help the system. It doesn't fit the system. And I agree with you. Yeah, Diaz is not on top of the form at the moment. He's not above Jota in terms of form and producing. But the things that he does produce for us is those things that go unnoticed, is getting the ball out on the wing, drawing a defender out, putting it back inside, putting it back into the field, in the middle of the field, and allowing Szoboszlai or Nunez or Gakpo or Jota, in a sense, to run the middle and be available in the spaces. And I think Diaz, he offers a lot, especially with his pace, and taking out the defender on the wide and drawing him out wide, and then drawing out the centre backs. So for me, it's the system. It's the way the system works with Diaz. Diaz is fitting more into the system than Jota would. If you're looking at systems and you're looking at form, you go Jota, obviously. But if you're looking at system, you have to have Diaz in that system to allow for the middleman to be the middleman and be the striker that we need.
Yeah, and I completely agree. And Willem, I mean, like this comment here, which says Jota is a super sub, the new Divock Origi. It's mental to think that a few years ago it was just Salah, Mane, Firmino, and then Origi as the backup. And now all of a sudden we've got all these incredible players. We've got such depth in the attacking options. For you personally, if I said to you, pick your preferred front three, what front three are you going with? Do you think the one we had today was probably our best one, or do you agree? Do you think Diaz should maybe still be starting over Jota? How would you line up for that front three?
For me, it's Diaz, Nunez, Salah, and it has been pretty much since for at least the last 2 months now. For me, it's been them three quite comfortably still, but that's also more on current form. Like, as in with Diaz, for example, right now, I know Diaz isn't producing necessarily the numbers of what we used up for Mane and Firmino, for example. But I for example, thought last week in the Merseyside derby, I thought wingers wise and really having a go at Everton's defence and really creating the chaos and the chance. Diaz was the best one out there for us in the meantime, and that's just what he's able to bring to us. And that might not always result in a direct goal or assist to him, but it's still vital to what we need for going up front. And well, Salah's just Salah, so he's always going to be in there. There's not going to be anyone who will be changing that. Yeah. And for me, Nunez, I've already repeated it on quite a lot of streams now. Nunez for me is the one that I see with the highest potential of just output and what he can bring us as well. So if we can just get that building, and by the looks of it, I do think that will be our main front three for the big games and going forwards to it, with Gakpo and Jota more adding around it, so that would be my front three for that reason as well. More also to build up that chemistry for them for in the next upcoming years, because it already looks frightening and they haven't even played together that long, the three of them.
Yeah, absolutely. And you touched on Nunez there. We're going to go into a bit of a conversation about him. I mean, technically he got an assist today for the Jota goal, a goal himself. He just overall he looks like a man possessed. He looks like a different player. I mean, Willem, I'll stick with you. How high do you think his ceiling is this season already? I think it's safe to say so far he's topped last season in terms of his overall ability. He still had a few misses, of course, but what is his ceiling and what do you predict him to actually sort of end on goal-wise at the end of this season?
If we have to give a number, I don't think the number will actually for the Premier League, for example, because are we doing it per competition or do you mean just all competitions by the end of the season?
Just all competitions in the season, just everything.
I still think at the current rate he's going at, and I'm kind of struggling if I'm feeling more between 25-30 in all competition or 30 to 35. And I'd more say because still statistically, if you look at it, he hasn't scored a lot of goals, but it's been due to the little amount of minutes he still had at the start of the season.
Yeah.
So I'm kind of more thinking logically, like if I follow his current output, if that's going to go along the season, I'd probably say 30 goals over competition in the season. I think it's one of them where it's like in the league, maybe he only ends up with 17 or 18, which again, it's not a bad number, 17 or 18 goals from a striker in the Premier League. Like that's also one thing. Like Salah, Haaland, Kane, and like all these guys have been getting 30 goals to the 36 goals seasons. I've like kind of inflated the number so much now that now it sounds like 18 goals in the Prem isn't even that much.
It's incredible, especially with Haaland being the way he is. And Chad, I mean, same sort of question to you. Nunez, he just seems to be getting better. I mean, in the league, he's on 4 goals, 3 assists. That's 7 contributions in 9 games this season. What do you think's different about him this season? He just seems like a man possessed. What can you see that's changed from how he's playing this season to how he was last season?
I think this season he's accepted his role, and Salah has accepted him into the team as well. We've spoken a lot about Nunez and how much he can influence into it. We must also remember that the team around him has changed. Salah used to be the main guy where he takes all the shots, get the ball to Salah, he'll score the goals. This season, we've seen him drop from that poacher and predator type of player to where it's all going through Salah to now where Salah's feeding into other players and he's limiting his shots on goal to now assist to other players. And that's helped Nunez so much because now he can play his game. We've adapted to allow Nunez to play his game, and his game is to run at the defenders, get into the spaces, and take the shots on. And you've seen that now during the course of the season, and that's what's going to bring Nunez even further up and make him become the player that we all expect him to be. I think the second half of the season is going to be a very big season for a big period for Nunez. Because I feel like slowly but surely we've seen that everyone is starting to gel into the system. Everyone's starting to understand the way Klopp wants them to play the season. And that's going to benefit Nunez even more. Because now you have, especially today, you see Salah dropping deeper, putting the crosses into Nunez, or finding the pass for Szoboszlai give 45 to Nunez. You see the how the team is gelling. You see the gears work, the gears turning in terms of the whole output of the game. And that makes Nunez even more important because now all Nunez has to do is be himself, be Nunez, run into the spaces, take the shot on, test the goalkeeper. We saw against Toulouse where he breaks the line, he beats the defender, he beats the goalkeeper. Unfortunately, he hits the post, but that's Nunez, and that's what we want to see on a regular. We want him to be Salah. About 4 years ago, where Salah was taking 60 shots and only getting 30 on target. You know what I mean? Take as much shots as you need, as long as we get you to get to at least take 60 shots, get to 20 goals. For me, that's a perfect season for you because you're taking the opportunities, you're taking the shots, you're being Nunez. That's what we want you to do, and for me, that's all we want from the season. And I think that he's going to get to that point, and that's what I'm saying. The second half of the season, we get Andre in January. We sort out our defense. Everyone now is playing in a new sense of freedom. Everyone has a new sense of belief and understanding, and that will only benefit our front line even more. And you're going to see Nunez. I don't think he gets to 20 this season. He might get under 20, about 17, 18 goals this season in the Premier League, especially. All comms, he might get to 30, especially with the Europa League and the form he's playing in the Europa League. But yeah, it's just, for us, it's just patience. He is going to crack on, and he is going to have a big, big impact in this club. You just need to just allow him to be Nunez.
At the end of the day, if you don't shoot, you can't score. So, he's doing the right stuff. Just before we carry on to the next topic, guys, please make sure to like and subscribe. We're nearly at 10k subscribers. I think we're like 9.77 at the moment. 10k before Christmas would be absolutely outstanding. And if you've got any questions that you want to ask, go for it. Put them in the comments, and I will get them on. Willem, the next one's sort of aimed at you. Paul said, would love to hear you guys comment on the midfield as well. Curtis Jones available next game. Should he regain his starting spot? Now, looking at the performance today, do you think that is our strongest midfield, or do you think Curtis Jones should be coming back in? And if so, who's he going over?
I mean, if it's up to my pick, I would stick to the midfield three that we had today. But I mean, at the same time, I think the one thing we're forgetting about, even though Curtis Jones' suspension will be done, we obviously have the cup game on Thursday coming up. And so I think it's more likely that we'll be seeing Jones play nearly a full 90 in the cup again and get his game time there. And then for the league, we kind of keep the same midfield as we kept today to keep that run going and also kind of keep that form in the team amongst those players going. Seeing as we have a good run of games in the league as well now to get a lot of points, I think that's probably going to be the priority right now. Curtis will get back in there because then again, it takes either one suspension from another midfielder or one player being out of form or another injury. Hopefully not, though, obviously. For Curtis to slot straight back in there again, and he will do his job and he will be fine. But I don't think that Klopp is walking around with an urgency right now of saying, I need Curtis back in my left side of the midfield now ASAP. I think he's just going to integrate him same way he does when players come back from injury, see how they're doing. Even though he's not coming back from an injury, I still think he's just going to probably, just to get him warmed up for the game time again, just give him the League Cup game.
Yeah, I mean, you saw that in the Europa League the other night. He started against Toulouse. He got a lot of game time then. I mean, Chad, do you agree? Do you think Jones is going to have to sort of work his way back in? Are you just sticking with the same midfield three we have for now?
Against Luton, it'll be the same. But I feel like it'll be the same midfield against the Premier League. I think Jones will have the midweek game. We saw with Gravenberch, he didn't have a good game today because of, I feel like, the Toulouse game. He played a lot of minutes. I think he played a full 90, if I'm not mistaken, or he played around about the 80 minutes. And then we saw him today. He looked a little bit sluggish. He didn't have the same poise on the ball. He didn't have the same touches. He wasn't controlling the ball as much as he wanted to. So even though we controlled the whole game, he wasn't as comfortable on the ball today. And I feel like Klopp will most probably put him on the bench or give him a few minutes on Thursday during the midweek. And then he'll start against Luton. But yeah, Curtis he'll have to build himself up again. I don't think Gravenberch has solidified himself in the starting lineup yet. But at the same time, I don't think Curtis has solidified himself in the starting lineup yet as well. And, we also had Harvey Elliott that had a good game when he came on today. He also had a good game against, not Toulouse, the game before Toulouse, last weekend. When he came on, he had a few minutes and he looked really poised on the ball. He had his few touches, he had his momentum, and he was carrying on his momentum. So the two midfielders that are solid is McAllister and Szoboszlai. They solidified their spots. Easy. It's only that one left-sided midfielder that we're looking at now, and it's between three players. It's Gravenberch, Jones, and Elliott. Obviously, if it's Elliott, then Szoboszlai and Elliott will swap sides. But for me, none of them have solidified a spot in the team as of yet. We would love Gravenberch to go, so like William was saying, to keep the momentum, to keep the chemistry going and build that understanding between the three. But at the same time, when you have Curtis Jones in it, not every game is going to be like today's game where we control the whole game. And with Curtis in the team, he allows us to control the ball much more. He allows us to have more control over the whole possession in the midfield much more. Yes, Gravenberch has those touches. He has the ability to draw the ball into him. He has that magnet of a foot towards the ball. But, he doesn't allow us to control the game as much as Curtis does. And so when it comes to those big games, I feel like the Man City game will be a big call who he decides to play, because that's going to be, I feel like, the real test. Even though Brentford is pushing the way up, getting the momentum back, getting their legs back onto their feet with the big win against Chelsea. But the big game is who will play against Man City. That's the biggest game that we're going to have now. And for me, I think Curtis will start over Gravenberch against City, just because he will allow us to have more control in that midfield and allow us to be available to attack and control the width and control how the game's pacing is going. So for me, it's Gravenberch this weekend against Luton. It'll most probably be Gravenberch again against Brentford. But when it comes down to the big games, it's going to be Jones, just because his ability to control the pace of the game.
Yeah, I mean, Willem, I'll go over to you with this one, because the next comment saying sounds like we'll have a selection problem in January if we get Andre. Now, obviously, against low block teams, like Paul says here again, this whole Gravenberch, Szoboszlai, McAllister system seems to work. There's a lot of energy, and they're able to get box to box with it. But is it sort of papering over the cracks, do you think? Do you think we still need that out and out number 6 CDM who's going to solidify the midfield and defence? Or do you think that this front three full of dynamism and energy, do you think this is just the way we need to go going forward?
No, it's not. It won't hold up. Like, as in, we will. I think we can get away with it for a season, but I don't think it will be able to last more than that. Also, as well, because you can sometimes tell in the way if we lose the ball and the teams really get to their point where they can attack and really try to get on the counter, we miss that out and out 6 to really stop that movement going in there. And McAllister does a really good job of intercepting and really a good job of getting through. But I wouldn't say to the point where it's as flawless as we've seen Fabinho doing it for a couple of years for us. And that is at the end of the day what we do miss. And whether you like it or not, if you're a team that wants to win the league or you want to win the Champions League, you need a DM is pretty much the most important position to have. So that is something that we do need to address. But I think we could get away with it for a season. And on the selection problem comment from Paul as well, I don't think personally it's a problem. I think it's a luxury, because I think no one's going to be guaranteed a place. Like, even if we get to a point where Szoboszlai he's been starting every game and he doesn't get around, and it gets to his head a bit, or not to get into his head a bit, but he's a bit off form, he's a bit in there. Well, then boom, we have Andre, we have Curtis Jones. We have Arvielia. We have other options that we can throw at Bajetic when he comes back. I also think if we do end up getting Andre, this means that this will also be Thiago's season. We won't see him anymore after this season. Then, if that's the case, I think so. In general, anyway. But the signing of Andre will probably only confirm it more. So yeah, I don't generally think it's going to be an issue. I think it's just more a luxury to have. Plus, if we get injuries coming in, it means we've got good quality backing it up. So yeah, that's pretty much all I got to say on it, really.
That's all you need to say, honestly. Don't about that. I mean, that's it's not much else to say with it. I mean, Paul said here, what about 6'4" Gravenberch play at the number 6 with Maka further forward, Rodri, Fabinho all over 6 feet. I disagree with regards to the height, because for me, the best CDM the league's seen in the past possibly 10 years was N'Golo Kante, and he was small. Height doesn't mean Mascherano was a CDM for us at one point. The height doesn't really mean a great deal. It's if you're capable of putting your body in the way of the opposition and just be a physical presence, you don't have to necessarily be tall. Salah's not the tallest player, but he's physically strong. It's just about how you defend. But Chad, I mean, do you agree with that comment? Do you think Gravenberch maybe is more suited to that deeper role, or do you think he's better further forward? I personally think McAllister seems to be more suited in the number 6 than Gravenberch, who I'd argue Gravenberch looks better going forward than McAllister, but I know you're a big fan of McAllister's, so what's your thoughts on it?
Yeah, no, Gravenberch stay where he is. I don't think he's a better six than McAllister. McAllister just has that defensive awareness that Gravenberch doesn't have at the moment. Obviously, he is an attacking-minded player, so he wants to go forward. He's not worried about looking back and coming back and making sure he can get the ball back from us, get the ball back for us, sorry. And McAllister, the thing with McAllister is now he's looking more like a Thiago in the sense that he reads the game well, but he also jumps into challenges a lot. And, he gives away unnecessary fouls for challenges that he might have missed, or his time is not on the tackle, and he might get a foul, give a foul away for missing a tackle or making a misjudged tackle. Sorry. When it comes to Gravenberch, the height, like you said beautifully in the terms of you don't need to have the tallest guy in the six. Golo Conte, best six in the whole game during his prime, and he was the smallest guy on the field. So it's not necessarily about the height; it's about the defensive awareness. If you can stop the ball beforehand, you have Van Dijk and you have Kanate. So if they do play the long ball, you have two tall defenders that can dominate that collision, that can dominate that that challenge. So it's not necessarily you need to have a tall six. With Andre coming in again, like William said. It's just abundance for us. It's similar to the front line where we have so many options in the front line. Having more options in the midfield makes us even better as well. Having a proper six is very key. 100%. We do need a proper six. I don't think Endo is cutting it because these last few performances hasn't been up to scratch yet. But having a proper six like an Andre coming in and just holding that midfield allows for more freedom for Trent, for McAllister. Again, I'm like McAllister we need to see him more up front. We need to see him up front because we need a 10 in this team that can fit the gaps, fit the ball through the small gaps. And unfortunately, Szoboszlai is not that kind of player. He's more, get the ball on his feet and run at you instead of, holding back and looking for the spaces between the defenders where he can feed the ball through to allow Nunez or Diaz or Salah to cut in and get into the space. And for me, that's where McAllister will shine for us. If you get him up forward, allow him to play in that 10-8 role where he can get the ball at his feet and then start feeding the runners. And that's where we'll start seeing the more joy up front and the more joy out of McAllister. And then having a six that can protect him and allow those McAllister to do his thing as a 10, a 10 and an 8. Allow Szoboszlai to do his thing with Salah on the wing, where you can drive at players and run at them without worrying about the counter-attack, the ball going over their head and they're losing out on the counter-attack. And having the six that can control that midfield and control the play is for me, that's very key for us.
Absolutely. And I mean, like you said there about the Finita, like Van Dijk and everything, we play such a high line anyway. I mean, any ball that goes in the air, they're just going to be there anyway to clear it. Yeah. But, the system we play, an out number six like Andre maybe would be great, but we still have players capable of filling that role. Just before we go on to the next topic, guys, please make sure to like and subscribe. It really does help out massively. And make sure to turn the notification bell on so that you never miss a video. Next time, it will be out at 7:30 when I host, I promise. So we've talked a lot about the midfield. And we're still sticking to today's game. One midfielder we haven't discussed, though, is Szoboszlai. Now, just going to give a couple of stats just from him today. So I'm just looking at my phone for a second. But 2 assists, his first 2 in the league, I believe, from what I've heard. 75 out of 81 passes reached their target, 4 chances created, 1 big chance, 13 recoveries, 4 out of 7 ground duels won. I mean, Willem... Obviously, I know James Maddison's sort of getting the plaudits for it, but is Szoboszlai in with a shout of being the signing of the summer? I mean, just how good of a deal have we got there?
Oh, we've got on a brilliant deal on Szoboszlai. To be fair, to be fair as well, can't deny Maddison's also been amazing for the season. But I mean, I'm way happier we signed Szoboszlai than Maddison, for example. At the end of the day, I think. What Maddison does really well attacking-wise, Szoboszlai can also do attacking-wise whilst providing the physicality, the engine, the work rate in general. And that is something that I prefer from him over a player like, for example, Maddison. But yeah, both of them have just been fantastic. Obviously, Szoboszlai, I mean, you can just tell by how quick the whole fan base has fallen in love with this guy as well since he's pretty much started playing around. Whilst, yes, that's also kind of due to last season us having to endure a lot of Henderson and Milner performances still in the midfield, obviously not helping. But at the same time, yeah, like he's just been a breath of fresh air, and just the way he just works his socks off, goes off after everything, has a little finesse, a little flair when he does play as well. Yeah, I find him brilliant. We've got Gem for 60 million.
So yeah, and 22 as well. I mean, he's still so young, so much room to develop. And what I love about him is just it. I know, and Chad, this is going to be a bit of a question for you. I know it's a big shout, but have we finally found our number 8 replacement in terms of a successor to what Gerrard did? Obviously, not to the same level. We know that he's not going to be able to reach that, but have we found that Keita didn't work? Is Szoboszlai the man who's going to do that number 8 shirt proud for many seasons to come? Do you agree?
Yeah, 100%. You can just see by the few performances that he's had over this season, over the course of this season, he's been outstanding. He's been our best player, bar a few of the others. But yeah, the energy, the ambition, the attitude that this guy brings, he pours out Liverpool. When you talk about, when you see him on the field, when you see him play, he wants to be there. He wants to wear the shirt. It's not a thing of it's a paycheck. I came here for a paycheck. I'm here to play and make money. It's about the passion of the fans. The passion. To hear him speak after the Everton game, how he was talking about the derby and how he was so excited to be a part of the derby. It just makes you want to fall in love with the guy even more. And Maddison is a quality player. He has been a quality player, and unfortunately, he was a quality player in a shit team with Leicester. And he's in a good team now with Tottenham, and he's been, it's being with Tottenham. It's allowing him to be the Maddison of yesteryear, of Brendan Rodgers winning the FA Cup with Leicester Maddison. But still, I think we've got a steal. I think Szoboszlai for 60, 70 million is a steal. He should be way more than that. And the quality that he's going to give us. Like you said, his age he's only 21, 22 now. The quality is going to give us over the course of his tenure with us, it's going to be outstanding. It's going to definitely, I don't want to jinx it, but he is going to be the 8 that we are looking for in terms of who was next to fill up that shirt. I mean, he is that guy that fill up that shirt and wear it proudly, and he's going to do it for us over the course. And not only the talent, not only the attitude, he has the leadership poise as well. He's a captain of his country at the age of 20. He was the captain of his country, so he's going to be able to, he has the communication with the team. He has the whole aura around him, and how he's fitting in with the lads and fitting in with the boys. It makes you want to back him and be the guy that we want. This is the guy that we wanted when we signed Keita. We wanted a guy like Szoboszlai. Unfortunately, Keita with the injuries and so on and so forth, it didn't work out. That can definitely dominate for us.
I agree. I think he's the fact that, and I mean, this comment here just says it all. Mount was 60 million, Havertz was 65, Caicedo 150, and Lavia 55, and we got Szoboszlai for 60 million. And it just goes to show that for all FSG can maybe get criticism, there's clearly a bit of method to the madness. We got Gravenberch, McAllister, and Szoboszlai for the price of what? I mean, Caicedo was over half of that. So,
Mount and Lavia can't even get a game. Mount and Lavia can't even get a game. You got Havertz that can't even score. He doesn't even know if he wants to play football anymore. And then you got Caicedo that's struggling in the midfield of a Chelsea team that he's supposed to run. So just watch the game and you'll see.
We did want to sign 2 of those overpriced players. Like, that is one detail that we do kind of have to, like Caicedo, let's be honest here, we were the ones putting in the bid, and with Lavia as well, like, but even though Paul Joyce, I remember, denied it at the time that there was no bid made, I remember Southampton's CEO came out and said, we received 60 million for Lavia from Liverpool, but Lavia had already said by that time he's going to Chelsea. But then again, look, at the end of the day, it played out well and it played out nice. But I mean, in any other situation, we could have been on the wrong side of the stick there, and then it could have been us going through that situation too. I am just glad that it's more that instead of being so focused on one target, we got the backup targets right this time. And that was something that didn't happen. If we didn't sign one player, no plan B, we just play it out and go again next season. And that was addressed.
Can I ask something onto a follow-up to that then?
Go ahead, bro.
I was thinking about this the other day as the Coutinho situation. Do you think that Coutinho would have been... Do you think that players can play in a... How can I say this? Do you think Klopp players can play in other teams? That's what I'm saying. Because if you look at all the signings that left Liverpool or left Klopp and went on to other teams, they've all failed. Van Halden, Coutinho, Benteke, Saka. Do you know what I'm saying? Like, these players were made by Liverpool, made these players the stars that they are supposed to be, and then they leave and they don't fill out the potential that they're supposed to have. You know, look at Sadio Mane, for example. Yes, he's aged and he was at that stage of his career, but still, he went to Bayern Munich. He couldn't last he only lasted one season. Coutinho went to Barcelona in a star-studded team. All he had to do was pass the ball. You couldn't do that. Van Halden went to PSG, same thing. Star-studded team, couldn't last. Do you think it's Klopp that makes these guys the stars that they are? Or do you think these guys are stars?
I mean,
because in that sense, with Caicedo, if he did get stuck with Caicedo, do you think he would have still been the flop? Oh, well, he's not a flop yet. The season's not over. But do you think he would have had the same performance?
Anyone in the comments as well, just before we give our thoughts on that, if anyone's got any examples of anyone who has succeeded at Liverpool, please let us know, because I actually had a bit of a loss. Willem, do you want to answer first, and then I'll give my one?
Well, I did want to add, obviously, what in the examples that you named before with Coutinho and with Mane and all that. The one thing I have with those transfers as well, though, and it's more, that's not something that's like, at the end of the day, that's also the player's fault for choosing to go that side. But obviously, Barcelona had Bartomeu, the crazy guy who was spending out all the money, not making any sense of it, and just, you know, going, I'm going to buy this guy and I'm going to buy this guy because he's young and he's got a high market value because he's got potential. And then just on that crazy spree, PSG needs no explanation to know how big of a shit show that club is at this point. And as well with Bayern, obviously, Nagelsmann, apparently Nagelsmann, it wasn't Mane wasn't one of his top priorities at the time, but because Bayern also have this thing where it's like the board above it have a bigger say than the manager. Often in those decisions, it's the board that went for Mane, and Nagelsmann didn't necessarily want him, and then Tuchel as well not wanting him afterwards kind of made it all go made it all go downhill for them. But that is mostly down to their choices of going to those situations.
Yeah.
So and at the end of the day, obviously I do agree as well, because let's be honest, let's look at what we've bought in and what Klopp managed to do with what we bought in. So yeah, you've definitely got a point.
Because I mean, all of them went to those teams, and it's not like they went and sat on the bench. They all started. Coutinho went to Barcelona, even though he was at Barcelona, he started. Mane, same, went to Bayern, started. PSG went to PSG, started. Van Halden. It's not. So what I'm trying to say is, like, the team. It's a positive and a negative in terms of Klopp. A positive in the terms that you don't need a lot for Klopp to make a team successful. A negative in the sense that you don't need a lot to make for Klopp to make a team successful. So the negative is that the club's not going to give you enough money now, because you can see that you don't need a lot of money to make the team successful. And then the positive is you have such a great manager. He doesn't need a lot of resources to make a team great. You know what I mean? So it's that's why I'm asking, like, those players, Lavia and Caicedo, if they came to Liverpool, I still think they would have been successful. Just because of the manager
we've got a track record. I mean, if you look at some of the players that I've gone through the list, I've got it in front of me of the players we've sold under Klopp. Of that list, I think the only ones I can say that have actually got onto a level of success. Balotelli did do well at Nice when he left, but obviously he wasn't particularly a Klopp player. You know, he didn't exactly get run down by him. Minamino's done well at Monaco this season. He's been superb. Other than that, there's no one. I mean, Grujic kind of, but again, there's no one stand out like you say. Who I've heard people say that the Klopp system adds about 3 years onto your career in terms of how draining it is. We saw Fabinho last season; his legs went, he was shot. It does happen, and I think you've got a great point that players that Klopp brings in, he's gonna take them a level higher than we thought capable. Let's be honest. No one thought Henderson was going to be able to do what he did. No one thought Milner was going to be able to do what he did. No one thought Dejan Lovren was going to be a Champions League winner. Andrew Robertson was going to get to where he is after we signed him from Hull. It's the Klopp effect. And Lavia is injured. That happened straight away, so we can't really count him. But Caicedo in this system now, I think he'd have benefited massively. I think we'd have benefited massively. But for 115 million, I personally would have just stuck with the players that we got now. And Will have said it before, we had backup options. Gravenberch was a first choice. We didn't get him. We did the ring around and then went back to him. And quite frankly, I'd rather have signed him for 35 than sign Caicedo for 115 when hindsight's 2020, but I personally, I'm just happy with the way that the business went. So, it is what it is at the end of the day. Remember, guys, to get your comments in. We've got about 10 minutes left. So just any questions you want to ask, don't have to just be about the game today. It can be just anything. If you want to know who Chad's favourite player is, if you want to know Willem's favourite Liverpool moment, favourite match, just get them in and we will answer them. It can be absolutely anything. Please remember to like and subscribe. Send us some questions. Get them in. I think we got a question the other week saying, ask them what our favourite Merseyside derby goal was. That was that started a big debate. But yeah, Jamie is absolutely right. Before we carry on, can we talk about how good Van Dijk was today? Now, I've been a bit of as a fan, I like to think I'm a bit glass half empty, which I know can sound a bit miserable, but I think with Van Dijk going into this game, I think he's been world class, but I had signs of his legs maybe fading a bit. Willem, can you see my perspective on it slightly? Do you think he is losing that little bit of pace, or do you think I'm just being a bit, a bit of a harsh critic on him?
I mean, no, not really. I've kind of made terms with the fact that he's just not the same defender he was before the injury, but how the way he's still come out of that injury and is still undisputedly one of the best centre backs in the league just says as well how high his standards are. And I mean, for the game today, let's also be brutally honest there, right? Forest was shit today. They did not create anything. And they apart from the last couple of minutes where they had a couple of chances going in and they hit the bar with Elanga, but for the rest they did nothing as well. So I don't really think it's a good game to measure how the centre backs and defenders' performance was, because honestly we just didn't get tested that much to really be able to make a proper judgment off it. So yeah. I think he's been good. I think he's been pretty good all season, to be fair, with Virgil. Again, it's also because I'm not expecting him to be as good as he was before the injury. What I've got more my eyes on is how is Konate developing next to it? Is Konate that man that we can slowly start expecting to really take over that mantle from Virg? And obviously what we'll be adding either in or maybe in the window already. Towards the defense to really start building on that, because that is going to slowly be, we're slowly going to need to rebuild that as well. And yeah, so it's, it's just not a good game to really judge him off today's game. But I think overall Van Dijk's been good this season so far.
Yeah, Chad, would you agree? Like William said, it was not a great game to get a feel of him. Obviously, he's going to look good when Forest only had 3 shots all game, 0 on target. Are you in agreement? Do you think that it's a bit harsh to sort of be judging, this comment here, judging Van Dijk on his pre-injury days? How would you speculate he's been this season?
I think everyone has the expectation of pre-Van Dijk. And I think this season Van Dijk has gone under the radar a little bit because of the few seasons we've had post-injury Van Dijk. Where he hasn't been the star, he hasn't been the solid rock that we've all expected and we've all known for years. But this season he's been solid. He's been very solid, especially with the rotating partnership that he's been having with either Konate or Matip or Gomez. He still has been a solid centre back and solid option for us. He's been our brick wall in a sense, and I think that yes, his performances has been a little underrated, and he has been a little bit looked over, especially this season. I don't think he's back to pre-injury Van Dijk. I don't think we should be judging on pre or post Van Dijk. And, I think we should be judging on how he's performing now and today. 31-year-old Van Dijk, that's the guy that we need to be looking at. And if he's not having a great season, we should be able to say, bugger your name, you're not having a good season. You know what I mean? And if you are having a good season, give the man his props and say, you know what, you've been looking solid for us, even though you've been having a different centre-back partnership every two games, you know what I mean? You've still been able to produce the same amount of defensive abilities that we've known you for. So for me, he has been a solid wall for us at the back. Van Dijk has just been I don't know how else to say it, but he's been Van Dijk. He's been a solid player for us. There's no other way to say it, but he's been a solid player.
He's been like I said, my thing of it, I think he's proven me wrong completely. My thing was just I felt like he'd lost that yard of pace. But like Paul says here, Thiago Silva's still playing at a decent level. Some players just have that ability in them to be able to mentally read the game, and he's just that type of defender. And I think he is just going to continue to excel. Stats-wise today, 107 touches, 4 clearances, 101 out of 107 passes. 7 out of 8 aerial duels. So, yeah, still world class.
But that's against Nottingham Forest. We can't look at today's game. Don't judge him on today's game. I mean, flipping, what's his name? Bukayo Saka would have been not Bukayo Saka, sorry. What's the defender? Saka. Mamadou Saka would have looked like a superstar. No, Mamadou Saka, the one, the mole.
Yeah. Now I got it.
He would have looked like a fantastic star. You know what I mean? Against this team. So you can't judge it against a team that had 1 shot on target, and the only shot on target they had was I think it was the last minute of the game. Let's judge him on the games against City, the games against Tottenham, the games against Chelsea, Arsenal. Those games, Man United, where you need to have a solid brick wall behind you, where you need to know that if the ball gets past the midfield, it's not getting past Van Dijk. Alisson only has 3 shots that he has to look after. Do you know what I mean? That's when we need to judge him. That's when we need to be like, okay, now you're the best. That's our guy. That's the best.
You said you mentioned shots on target then. Now, and this goes into, we're doing extra time, 10 minutes worth, just a few questions. And this goes into the first one that I've got here. Now, you said shots on target. Manchester United this season, will Erik ten Hag still be the coach at the end? I know this isn't particularly Liverpool news, but I think it needs to be addressed after the Man City game. Now, a few stats for you. Anthony this season, 0 goals, 0 assists. Garnacho, 0 goals, 0 assists. In the league, this is Højlund, 0 goals, 0 assists. Martial, 0 goals, 0 assists. Sancho, 0 goals, 0 assists. And Rashford, 1 goal, 1 assist. And that's from all their attacking players. Now, Willem, I want to get your thoughts on this. Are Ten Hag's days numbered? I mean, is it looking like the exit's close for him?
Not for now. I'm assuming what they'll probably do is the same thing they've done quite a couple of times in the last decade, which is literally keeping on board until it's mathematically impossible to make the top 4, and that's where they'll start reviewing his position. And they'll probably even still keep him on for that summer after it. I think he's going to get the Ole Gunnar Solskjaer time because he did that well his first season. I think they'll give him this season, and just for that first season, they'll probably, even if he finishes 7th or 8th, somehow he'll talk his way into, I didn't get backed enough, and I need more transfer budget, blah blah blah, and his weird Dutch accent, and then he'll just probably start doing that again, and then probably in a year's time, round about this period when he's just not getting it going again, that's probably when he's going to back. And they don't pay off his contract at the end of the day because they're pro. So that's probably also the other reason.
I mean, Chad, do you agree? I think looking even at last season, they were on the end of some bad results. The Brentford 4-0, I think, beat them. We thrashed them 7-0. Like, is Ten Hag's days number? Do you think this is just they're sticking with him because they've just had this history of just sacking managers willy-nilly? I mean, what's your thoughts on it?
I think it's down to the availability of a new manager. They don't have who else is there? You know what I mean? Maybe they're waiting for Chelsea to sack Poch, which should be coming maybe end of January. Who knows if they do sack him? I'm surprised he still has a job. But for me, Ten Hag is, like William was saying, is he's stuck at Man United. They're stuck with Ten Hag until they find someone better. There's no one else that they can put in that position because, again, this is Man United we're talking about. Man United needs to have the best of the best of the best. Even though they're not, they won't fit the Premier League or they won't fit the Man United system, but they need to have the best of the best name in that managing position. Yes, Oli had a good season, but as soon as someone better or bigger was available, they sacked him. Same with Giggs. Same as who was the guy before? David Moyes. As soon as the bigger name came out, they sacked the manager, regardless of how much time they've given him, regardless of how much money they've allowed him to spend, regardless of how much talent he has as a manager and on the field, they're going to sack him. And Ten Hag at the moment, he's the only caveat that he has is that he's a good manager. He just doesn't have a good team, or there's something amiss in the team or the communication. Maybe he's speaking Dutch instead of English. Maybe the translator's not translating correctly. But I give him until the end of the season, honestly. If he doesn't get sacked by the end of the season, he's stuck at Man United until next year, January.
Can I just add one thing to that as well, by the way? I think it's gotten to the point with United where it's not even just about the manager anymore. I think genuinely they have so many players in there that have just been given everything pretty much throughout their youth careers and the start of the early careers that, as you see, they've got like leaks coming out from the dressing room at least once a week and all that.
Absolutely.
And it's not just the manager. I don't think a manager just by itself is going to solve it. And I think we all know that. And the thing is, we all know who their owners are. So we all know it's pretty much not going to get solved.
Yeah, but I mean, if they couldn't accept what was it, 4 billion or 1 billion takeover from Saudi, you stuck.
Yeah.
We have to start thinking about it's the Glaciers. They're going to continue being with the Glaciers. And the way the Glaciers do it is they want to have the names, regardless of the talent on the field. They want to make sure that the Man United name makes money so that they can make money. So it's just a continuous a cycle of. I mean, there's the comment, Johnny Evans. Why do you have Johnny Evans there if you have quality in defense in terms of Maguire that you spent 70 plus million on? Varane, you have a midfielder playing defense and he's the best defender. Martinez, put him at a 6. You would be one of the best 6 in the whole game if you put him in the 6. But you don't have a good enough defender that you can't put him in the 6. You have to put him in the defense. Do you know what I mean? And again, like you're saying, William, it is a whole problem. It's not just a part of a problem. It's a whole problem. And unfortunately, it's not our problem. It's Man United's problem, which is very happy for me. But as long as the Glaciers are in charge of Man United, we can't talk about Man United in any other terms besides the way we talk about them now with the Glaciers. Because it seems like they're inevitable. They will always be there.
So time for probably one or two more. Will, I'm going to pass this one to you. I'll give my quick answer. Who's the most overrated manager in the Premier League now, and why is it De Zerbi?
It's not De Zerbi for me. No. Do you want my... It's not even that I think he's overrated. I think his own fan base overrate him. But for me, it's Arteta. I've been hearing people talk about Arteta as if he's the same as Pep and Klopp and Ancelotti in the last 4 or 5 months. And I'm really sorry to say it, but the man still hasn't won anything beside an FA Cup in 2020 and a Community Shield. And, I think it's all talk, but it's nothing to really show for it. And he's just, I don't know, he's made some decisions as well, which are a bit weird. The goalkeeping situation now, it's like he's trying to breed that progressive, innovational manager that Pep was when he came onto the scene. but I'm not necessarily seeing it to the same rate. Yeah, I'd say Arteta, but I agree. Poch is also overrated as hell. But I've realized that it's starting to annoy me how some people are talking so highly about Arteta when I'm sorry, he just hasn't shown anything for it to be talked about that highly.
Yeah, for me, the obvious one was
your answer.
The obvious one would have been Poch, obviously. The way Chelsea's playing, it wouldn't be fun if we just said Poch, because then we wouldn't have anything to talk about, because we all know.
That's why I said
that's an interesting one when you're saying Arteta's overrated. Yeah, I agree with you. I do actually. Thinking about it, he hasn't actually won anything. He hasn't actually done a lot. But at the same time, he does have essence of a Klopp when he first took over Liverpool.
He could be a really good manager.
He does have he could be very much. He can, and he has the mentality and he has the ideas of, he has a great knowledge given to him by Pep and by Wenger when he used to play with Wenger. He has experience of good managers around him. But yeah, I kind of agree. I'm starting to agree with you when you're saying that Arteta might be overrated. If he doesn't win anything this season, then it's a definite, because you've had 2 seasons of a top quality team. They were playing fantastic football, and yet you still can't get the job done. You know what I mean?
And the amount of spending as well. Let's not forget they spent 700 million in the last, I don't know, 7 or 6 years or something like that. So yeah, they are running out of excuses if they don't win anything.
If they don't win anything, yeah. And when it comes to De Zerbi, I don't think he's overrated. I think he's on the list. He's not at the top of the list, but he's on the list in terms of overrated managers, because everyone's thinking of him as the next Pep Guardiola. He's the next guy. When as soon as you talk about, okay, if Pep goes, or Klopp goes, or if Poch goes, or if Arteta goes, the first person everyone says is De Zerbi. And the thing is, he needs to show it. De Zerbi needs to win something or show something in terms of either getting into the top 5 or top 6 again, getting into the quarterfinals of the Europa League, and showing that the style of football that he's playing with Brighton he's able to maintain that style of football. Because remember, he's taken over from Potter. Graham Potter's, this team that he's playing with, this team that he set up last season, was Graham Potter's team. Whether you like it or not, that's Graham Potter's style. When you think about, when people talk about Brighton, they talk about, hey, they must play like the way Brighton always plays. The way Brighton always plays was under Potter. Potter made that system the way De Zerbi is playing. There's not a lot of things that you can point out and say, oh, that's De Zerbi. That's what De Zerbi brought into Brighton. Everything that he's done, everything that is going on is Potter. So he has to deliver this season in order for us to change that narrative. Because those of us that actually know that that's not his team yet.
Well, I'm just going to give him a quick why I think De Zerbi, and then we are going to shoot off. Just really quick. I think De Zerbi is a good manager, but I think all these comparisons to, like you said, Guardiola, people saying he could take over at Man City. Yeah, he gets them playing good attacking football. Yes, going forward, they look really good. But if you remember when Klopp first came to us, he was great at attacking football, but defensively we were very poor, and the amount of scrutiny he'd get for that was ridiculous because he was at Liverpool. De Zerbi, to me, has been on the end of some really bad results, especially this season. There's teams in Europe like Athens they should be beaten, didn't. There's games against lower down teams. Villa score 6 against them. To me, I think he can get a team playing great attacking football. That's all well and good, but to be able to manage a game defensively is the hardest thing you can do. And he just doesn't seem to have that ability, to me personally, whether it's the personnel, whether it's overestimating where the lane should be. I'm not 100% sure. I'm not as convinced as everyone else. I'm not on the De Zerbi bandwagon like a lot of people are. What he's done is incredible, and to take over from Potter when he's came in and get them playing the way they are is fantastic. But at the same time, they've not won in the last 4 games, draw, loss, or vice versa. I can't quite remember, but I just don't see him as that successor. I personally would think Arteta is further ahead in that pecking order than De Zerbi. just to me personally. Right, guys. So we are going to call it a night. Once again, thank you very much for watching. Please make sure to like and subscribe. And in one word, just Chad, man of the match today.
Szoboszlai.
Willem?
Szoboszlai, there's no debate about it.
No, there's no debate. Best midfielder in the league, and that's just facts. Just forget De Bruyne. Right. Thank you very much, everyone, for watching. Have a nice night, and we will see you soon. Make sure to tune in every single day at 7:30. There is constant streams, 2 a.m. UK time for the American stream, and there is also post-match streams. I'm sure there'll be one after the Bournemouth game, so make sure you tune into that. And have a nice night, and we will see you soon.
Thoughts with Luis Diaz's parents as well.
Yes, 100%. Thoughts up to them. Please, everyone, make sure that you're safe. Thoughts go out to Luis Diaz from everyone at the LC Transfer Room. Thank you very much, guys, and have a great night. And now we've got 5 seconds.